Before we get started, please comment below who you think the Senators tomorrow in Dallas will select with the 4th overall pick and the 22nd overall pick. Now let's get into tonight's video, the draft preview with the Athletics' Chris Stevenson. Welcome to Sens Talk. My name is Brandon and I'm your host. Before we get started, please follow us on Twitter at @SensTalk_ for live updates of the games and of course breaking news of your Auburn Sounders. We're here joined from Dallas, Texas, Chris Stevenson, who writes for the Athletic. Chris, thank you for joining the show.
Hey, my pleasure. It's going to be, not to put too fine a point on it, an interesting next couple of days.
That's for sure. That is for sure. Firstly, before we even get into the options the Senators that have in their 2 selections in the first round for tomorrow's draft in Dallas, do you think the Senators will even keep the 4th overall selection tomorrow, or do you think they'll give it to Colorado?
It sure sounded after listening to Pierre Dorion today that they're going to keep the pick, and I think it should have made for a pretty lively debate within the Senators meeting rooms with the scouts.
Yeah.
Because really the determination they had to make, right, was, do we have the potential next year to get a better player than what we're going to get at pick number 4 this year? I mean, that's basically what it all boils down to. And there are a lot of moving parts that go into making that determination. I mean, number one, what do you think of the quality of the players in next year's draft? And the early returns are that, it's going to be as good a draft, or might not have quite the impact player like a Rasmus Dahlin at the top of the draft, but certainly Hughes is looked at as a player that's got potential to be an impact player. So, you look at that, and then, of course, probably the biggest question the Senators had to answer is what kind of team are they going to have next year?
Yeah.
And I'm not sure at this point if they can even answer that question because of the, because of the uncertainty of the Erik Karlsson situation.
I agree.
If they indeed wind up trading them, and that's my guess right now, is that they are going to do that at some point. What's the return going to be? Are you going to get roster players who are going to be able to help you next year? Or are you going to get
futures?
Mostly picks or prospects that won't have that much of an impact. So there's a lot of moving parts here to be considered in deciding do you use the pick this year. I just think with all the uncertainty, use the number 4 pick this year, and we can see what happens, next year. And if it winds up that you gave up the first pick, then that's the way it goes. What do you think?
I think personally, you take a look at a situation like Vegas. I predicted they'd be a playoff bubble team. I don't think anyone could have predicted they would be a top team like they were last year. But the National Hockey League, you can go from worst to first in a year. So realistically, the Senators, they could, even without Erik Karlsson, they'll be a bad team, but the odds are they will not be. The odds are stacked against them being last or second last. Even if they're last or a bottom 3 team in the regular season standings, there's still a big chance they'll fall out of that top 3 pick. So realistically, the odds are in favor of them not getting a top 4 pick next year unless they get that fall to last place, which it could happen, it might not. So realistically, with the odds, I don't even know why it's even a story, because people that look at stats, look at odds, etc., there's really a a large chance that the Senators won't even have a top 4 pick next year. It'll likely be a top 10 pick. So it's an unfortunate situation, but giving up a 4th overall pick for a top 10 pick somewhere in that range seems ridiculous to me, and I don't know why it's conversation.
Yeah, I look at it the same way too. I think if you are going to play the odds, and at this point with the way things have been going, you should play the odds. Then I think somewhere around whatever it is, 8 o'clock tomorrow night, or maybe a little bit after. Yeah, probably around 8. I think it starts at 7:30.
Yeah, around then.
They walk up onto the stage and use that 4th pick.
Yeah, and let's move on now to the actual draft itself. Obviously, there's Brady Tkachuk, there's Philip Zadina, etc. Who, 4th overall, let's say Kotkaniemi is taken by the Canadians, which is projected to be the case. Even Tkachuk or Zadina could be there as well. Who excites you at 4th overall?
I think Zadina does, to tell you the truth. I mean, and again, you're trying to project forward here, 5-6 years down the road, where these guys are going to be, and what kind of men they're going to be, and what kind of players they're going to be. And right now, Zadina, and indeed, if that winds up being the option, I think Zadina's the player to take. I think he gives them more skill than what Brady Tkachuk has shown so far. And let's face it, that's where the game is trending.
Yeah.
Right now, and it's a guess. Let's face it. I mean, all of this is educated guesses. That's what scouts get paid to do.
Yeah.
Those who guess the best are rewarded for being good scouts.
Exactly.
But right now, looking at the two of them, and I spent most of my time covering the NHL, not having had a lot of views of either of them. I just feel like right now Zadina's the guy that's going to have the overall
better career
package skill. But not just a career, but give them the elements
skill
that they need right now in terms of giving them more skill. Tkachuk seems to be looked at as
a grinder
in a line of the Tkachuks who were physical, rambunctious type players, and I just don't know if you need that as much in the National Hockey League now.
I agree, and when the focal point of a player that's projected to be a top 5 pick is about how he can be anywhere in your lineup and he can play on your third and fourth line, I'm sure Tkachuk is going to be have a good career, but the Maple Leafs prove it themselves. You have to build the team with skill and speed, etc. Yeah. Tkachuk, I'm sure he's going to be a great player, but Zadina, 44 goals last year in Halifax, 82 points, a lethal shot. We just lost Mike Hoffman, and I'm not saying Zadina can replace Mike Hoffman right away, but if we do draft, we get the opportunity to draft Philip Zadina. I think he can even be better than Mike Hoffman. He has a lethal shot, and sometimes it's confusing, and sometimes it's hard to predict whether these kind of offensive guys from the CHL can convert that offense to the NHL. But with the shots Zadina has, I don't see how he cannot convert that to the National Hockey League.
Yeah, and I just think for what you want to be in the National Hockey League now, and the profile of the players that are going to help you have success, I just think Zadina checks more boxes than Tkachuk does. And like I said, again, on my kind of limited exposure to them, but a lot of copious reading on both of them by guys who know a heck of a lot more about them than I do.
Yeah.
I think if that's the choice that they've got to make at that 4 spot, it's a no-brainer, to tell you the truth. The really interesting thing for me going into tomorrow night is that indeed going to be the choice that they have?
That's true.
It seems like the Montreal Canadiens are kind of the
decider,
the tipping point
in
that first round. Excuse me.
Yeah, no worries.
In terms of what they're going to do, they seem to be a little bit of a wild card at this point.
Yeah.
So they're going to set the dominoes falling for everybody behind them. The Senators being the first one.
Well, there's besides that, there's obviously Oliver Wahlstrom and a couple other forward options. But let's say the Senators do lose Erik Karlsson. 4th overall, there's some good defensive options as well. There's Quinn Hughes from who played in with Michigan. There's Noah Dobson who played with the CHL champions, and then there's obviously Adam Bachfist who had injuries problems, but he's a skilled offensive player. All 3 of those players, I didn't mention Evan Bouchard. I'm not too high on him. But Quinn Hughes, Noah Dobson, Adam Bachfist are the guys that really opened my eyes to a guy that can be a top 2 guy that can play next to Tom Chabot and be the fixture to the blue line, hopefully for the long term for the Senators if they go down that route.
Yeah, and again, it's a bit of a fool's game, and we always ask, general managers and directors of scouting, what your philosophy is in the draft, and the pat answer is almost always that, we're going to take the best player that's available, and we're not going to draft for need. But I think sometimes, and I think that was probably more true in years gone by, but as the league has started to skew much younger, these guys that you're drafting now, especially when you're in the top 4 or 5 picks. I mean, those guys are probably going to be impacting your roster within a year or two.
For sure, yeah.
And I think now you can start looking at drafting for need at this point, because you're not projecting as far into the future in terms of what your team is going to look like. Right now, if they do trade Karlsson, then there is going to be an opening for top flight number 1. Offensive defenseman on that right side. So, if you're convinced you're moving on from Karlsson and you're not going to fill that hole with your return, then maybe you look at it. I think you certainly have to have the conversation
for sure.
Taking one of those right shot skilled defensemen.
Exactly.
Pick.
Exactly. Usually I'm not incredibly excited about, unless it's Rasmus Dahlin, picking a defenseman in the top 5. But these guys, especially Quinn Hughes, for example, Adam Bockfist, I was high on earlier in the year, but he's kind of went down the rankings. But Quinn Hughes, he's committed, I believe, to Michigan University for next year. But it's not, I don't really care about if he plays in the National Hockey League next year, but if the Senators are going to go for a defenseman, Quinn Hughes seems like a guy that has a skill set, can play a two-way offensive-minded game though, and he has the size as well, which the Senators like. So Hughes, Dobson, Bockfist, all guys that I would be happy the Senators taking if they were going to go towards a defenseman. Moving,
I think if it does wind up that the dean is gone, and those first 3 picks kind of go like the way everybody's been thinking, and now you got Brady Tkachuk, kind of your top option. I think then that really becomes a talking point.
For sure.
Do we instead go with a right shooting dean instead of taking Brady Tkachuk?
Yeah.
But if Zadina, I think if Zadina is there, your decision's made for you. You take him.
For sure. So it's really in the hands of the Canadians. But now, this 22nd overall pick from the Derek Brassard trade is in the hands of the Ottawa Senators. There are a few options here. There's Akil Thomas, 81 points, 68 games last year in the OHL. There's Sohan Noel, somebody that's not a native of Ottawa but has lived in Ottawa before, so the Senators have apparently taken a close look at him. Jonathan Berggren, center right winger. Jarek McIsaac, defenseman Ryan Merkley, who I'm not too high on just because of his off-ice issues. There are some options at 22nd. Who excites you there, and what direction do you think the Senators go there?
Well, I think, if they did, view the priority of adding some size, and I think about that, the game we played against the Winnipeg Jets at home near the end of the year. And at one point, I looked at the 5 guys that Winnipeg had on the ice.
Yeah.
I think we're an average of about 6'4".
Yeah.
I mean,
Big.
Wheeler was out there, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Shifley was out there. Tyler Myers was out there.
Huge guys.
That's the dream thing, right?
Yeah.
If you can get a guy that kind of size that
with the skill,
I think that's kind of like what you look at, especially as you get farther down in the draft, and when you get to 22. And that's why I think Sohan Noel, for me, is a little bit of an intriguing project.
Guy,
Again, talking to scouts, the first concern you would probably have with a guy who's 6'5" and north of 200 pounds.
Yeah.
Would be, how's his skating? And everybody seems to think that his skating really improved as the year went on, and that it's not an issue. In fact, that he's an above-average skater.
Yeah.
So you get a guy like that with that kind of size, with some scoring touch, excuse me, who can skate and get in on the forecheck. I think at 22, he's a pretty intriguing target at that spot.
I agree, but there is quite a bit of discussion throughout National Hockey League fans in the National Hockey League later rounds to the playoff teams, and of course Senators where they're selected 22nd. Ryan Merkley, if it wasn't for his off-ice issues, he would probably be a consensus top 15, top 10 pick in this draft just because of his offensive capabilities. If he could just clean up his act, he could be a top 1 defenseman on any team, in my opinion. But with his off-ice issues, do you think the Senators or a team around here that around this mid-20s selection in the first round tomorrow night will take a flyer on him and just take a chance of taking a gem in the rough and getting a steal here?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think right now, given what we've been talking about around the Senators for the last week or so, I think that's not anything I think you can afford to take a chance on.
You can't.
I think again at that spot in the draft, you're getting a pretty good player.
Mm-hmm.
I think right now they need to be making sure that they're going to be bringing in somebody who's going to be able to help them and not be an issue.
Yeah.
I think he fits the profile. He fits the profile of a player that, like you said, a team that's going to be drafting really late in that first round, maybe or early in the second, that is a pretty good hockey team already.
Yeah.
They can maybe afford to
take a risk.
That gamble.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe down the road like we've been saying, you're projecting what these guys are going to be like 5 years from now. Maybe 5 years from now, he's a solid citizen and a great player and a leader in his NHL dressing room.
Yeah.
But I just think that's a gamble that's probably better left to a good team
For sure.
already that's got a pretty good veteran core that could
take the risk.
That could lend some leadership.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it as a fit for the Senators anyway.
One final question here, Chris. You see at Edmonton, they're saying that they're willing to move their 10th overall pick for a puck moving defenseman. A lot of Sens fans on Twitter say Cody Ceci, etc. Do you see, and with the Canadiens' 3rd overall pick potentially being moved, do you see the Senators moving one of their picks here up or down?
Do I see the Senators moving a pick? I don't think so at this point. Particularly on that 4th pick, I don't see them moving that 4th pick at all. Maybe the 22nd, depending what happens, they can move up or down. I talked to Dale Talon from Florida today, and he's at 15, and he's perfectly willing to move down. He said they've got, they're looking at their group of players that they're interested in that 15th pick. But they've also got the 34th pick, I think, from a deal that they made with Arizona. So they've got 2 picks there. He said he's more than willing to move down. And maybe get 3 players, pick up another draft pick for moving down.
Okay.
I don't get the feeling right now that the Senators are going to be on the move in terms of those picks. But I think once you start probably getting past the I don't know, maybe about the 7th or the 8th pick. Yeah.
You'll see some movement.
I think we could see some volatility tomorrow night and see some teams that are willing to make a move.
One final note, actually, just on that. People on Sens Twitter, I'm sure you know what that is. Like the fan base on Twitter for the Senators. There are some interesting armchair GM moves here. With Bruce Garriock's article the other day, he said that Carolina is interested. Obviously, Carolina is interested in Erik Karlsson. Do you think the Senators could potentially get that 2nd overall pick? I know this is a stretch, but if they were going to move Erik Karlsson, do you think this could be the move, and then they could get Svechnikov, etc.? Do you think that's a possibility? Just to police the Twitter fans and the Sens fan base watching this.
Hey, anything that gets folks talking and reading about the Senators is good. Normally I would say for a team in Carolina's situation, use the 2nd pick.
Yeah.
But we've got Rick Dudley at the controls there.
Yeah.
And 3 times in his tenure as a general manager in the National Hockey League, he's traded the 1st pick overall. Yeah. So I think all options are on the table when it comes to Carolina. And again, that's another reason to think that there's the potential for some fireworks tomorrow night. Yeah. And with a new owner in Carolina, and especially a kind of riverboat gambler, swashbuckling kind of guy that he is. Yeah. I would not be surprised if he wants to make a really big splash with his team. Mm-hmm. So whether the Senators and the Karlsson thing would make sense. Yeah. If you want to throw that out there, that's a deal that has potential and makes sense for both parties. I could, if it's not the Senators, it wouldn't surprise me to see Carolina make a move that 2nd pick, just because Dudley's done it before. And I think the owner wants to make a big splash as he takes over that team.
Well, Chris, I guess we'll have to see what happens tomorrow night. But once again, Chris from The Athletic, please check him out. If you haven't subscribed already, The Athletic is a great read. Please check him out. Your Twitter handle is what again, Chris?
CJ_Stevenson.
He tweets out his articles there. Great articles, great writer. Chris, thank you so much for joining us, and enjoy the draft tomorrow. Enjoy the beautiful weather in Dallas, Texas.
It is hot. And hopefully it'll be hot around the draft tomorrow night.
For sure.
It was good talking to you.
Great talking to you, too. I'll talk to you soon, all right?
Bye-bye.
Bye. That was Chris Stevenson from The Athletic. If you don't know him, he is an athletic writer for the Ottawa base that writes for The Athletic. Great articles he writes, so if you haven't already, please subscribe to him. I'll put a link in the description below. Besides that, thank you all for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this longer video, but it's well distributed with the conversation. Besides that, thank you all for watching. Please enjoy the draft tomorrow night in Dallas, Texas. Comment below who you think the Senators will take with the 4th and 22nd overall pick. Besides that, thank you all for watching. So please follow us on Twitter at @SensTalk_ for live updates of the games and of course breaking news. Please like us on Facebook at SensTalk, add us to our circles on Google Plus SensTalk. Click the big red button down there and subscribe to us. Like this video, share this video wherever circle stuff. Please, please, please click the big red button down there and subscribe to us. Besides that, right here and here, here and here is our most recent upload. To subscribe to us, our off-season playlist, and our playlist. So besides that, thank you for watching. I appreciate the support, and I'll see you soon. Enjoy the draft tomorrow, and please let the Senators take Philip Zadina. Go Sens, go.